Last section for this unit, okay? So we're going to do 2 days of 2.5, test review, test on Friday, on 2.1 to 2.5. There's a lot of overlap. And if you remember way at the beginning of this chapter, it was graphing 2 lines to see where the where the lines cross. So that was the ordered pair, the point. And then we did elimination and substitution with systems. We had a quiz on that stuff. And now we're doing inequalities. So it's a system, but instead of equations, meaning equal signs, they're inequalities. So there's a few things we need to know about inequalities. When you graph, okay, and it does not have the equal to sign underneath, so this is less than, this is greater than, okay, versus less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, these are going to be dotted lines. When you connect the points, you're going to make it dotted, dashed, whatever you want to call it. Yes? Yes, I will send her up. Thank you. Ashley, you can get this up. Okay? Oh, you want the worksheet? Just come by and grab the worksheet from me. Okay. Okay, so dotted, dashed, whatever. When you connect the slope and the y-intercept, you make a dotted. And if it has a solid line under it, like this, that's how I remember to make a solid line. So that's, you're welcome, sweetie. That's how we connect. Okay, so we'll see both of these types in what we're about to do. Now this is this other part that we're going to talk about right here is a little bit harder for some of us to see, and I'll explain it when we get to it. But these symbols mean less than. Okay, if you open up your finger, your left hand makes an L, that's less than. We always shade below. We're just taking the notes right now. I'll explain what this means when we do an example. And greater than or equal to, we shade above the line. Because guys, with inequalities, there's a whole bunch of answers that are the solution. Like with equations, it's where they cross, that one point, right? But when it's all the numbers less than or all the numbers greater than that line, it means there's a whole shaded area that we call the solution. So let's see what I'm talking about, right? So what we're going to do is take this system of inequalities and we're going to graph them using the same method we've been using. And some of us are still not getting this. Guys, we have to be proficient, which means really good, at graphing lines. There's only 2 numbers, M and B. M needs to be a fraction if it isn't already. B is your y-intercept. Every time, every day, 7 days a week, all the time, right? So I'm going to start by graphing just that line. So what I want you to notice is, so you can just make yourself a nice little x-axis, y-axis jobby here. So I'm going to start by putting on my y-intercept. Let's not forget what we already know. We start by graphing the y-intercept, which goes on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? And if it's a negative slope, it falls left to right. Okay? If it's positive, it rises. So if you think that your line has to go like this, you can either, starting at 6, we can either go up 5, left 1, down 5, right 1, or maybe a little of both. Just depends on where we are in the graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just going down because that's where most of my space is. Okay? So this is going to be dotted, right? We're going to use a dotted line because it does not have a solid line under it. Okay? So let's connect it with a dotted line. Now, inevitably, just like me, sometimes that doesn't even look like a line. It's kind of curvy. Sometimes we just go fast, right? Especially if we're really good at graphing. We do our M, we do our B, we just connect the points. And you're like, oh my gosh, it was supposed to be dotted. Don't worry about whiting it out or anything. If you accidentally make it a solid line and it's supposed to be dotted, just like put a little arrow towards it and write dotted, just so to tell me you meant to make it dotted, okay? Now, I'm not going to do it now, but I am going to shade in a minute. If this was an equal sign, I'd be done. It'd be just that line. But since it's less than that, y is all the numbers below the graph. So if I was only graphing this one line, I would shade all of these points below the line. okay? So we made a dotted line, and in a minute, we're going to shade below, okay? So just hold that thought. But we want to wait till we get our other graph on there. I'll do this one in red. So M is 2 over 1. B is negative 1. First point always goes on the y-axis. So B is negative 1 there. Positive slope. So I'm going to go up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. And that's enough. That's good enough. Is this going to be a solid or a dotted? Solid. What tells me? That solid line right there. You can see it. There's a solid line. We're going to make a solid line. And if this were equations versus inequalities, we'd say, oh, they cross right there. That's the solution. But this is not these are not equations. This is saying all the numbers greater than 2x minus 1. So here's 2x minus 1. We want all the numbers greater than, so that's above. So we are going to shade above. Now, listen to what I'm about to tell you, because all of that should be pretty much review. Really, the only thing new there is maybe having to do a dotted line. Graphing the two lines is just graphing lines. Listen, everybody has, like, you might have heard of teachers talking about, like, different ways students learn. Like, this one's auditory, this one's visual, or, you know, like, there's just different ways. For example, when I hear directions to someplace, if you talk about north, south, east, west, I can't, it's very hard for my brain. Like, some people can just hear, yeah, take 5 miles north and you're going to turn east on this road, and it's just clear to them. For me, you have to say, hit the Starbucks on the corner, and then you'll take a right, and then you'll see a McDonald's, you take a left. Like, I need more visual clues. And that's what I'm getting at, there's a reason, is some of us are going to see the shading part of this problem super clearly. You're going to almost be like, why are people confused by this? It's so clear to me. And some of us have a hard time with it, okay? So everybody watch, because I want to make sure I cover all of you, whether you're confused or not. So what I want to do is I want to shade below the purple line, that was the first one, and above the red. Shade, now look at my pen. I want to find where they overlap. Below this and above this. Some of you see it immediately as this, like, triangle right here. Not triangle, but this area here. Some of us don't. So let me show you what you can do. So here's what, watch me with a pencil. Again, the purple line, I'm going to shade below. So I'm going to make just lines coming off of the purple line in that area. So that's saying I'm shading below. It gets lower and lower, lower, below, less than. Okay? I'm going to shade above the red line. So that's up here. And when I do these little lines, it makes a mess of my graph. But can you see where they crisscross? That is their area that they have in common. Again, which is this whole area in here. And it goes on forever and ever and ever, because these lines go on forever. So this shaded region just keeps going on forever and ever, but this is good enough. So notice I didn't include this area or this area. Again, below purple, above red. Some of you won't need to make those lines. You choose where you are, and this takes a little practice. Okay, let's do one more. This first equation is in slope-intercept form. Thank you very much. We love it when they're already given to us and y equals mx plus b. Makes life easy, right? This one will be a solid line, right, because of the equal to sign. It's a solid line there, so it's a solid line on the graph. And which way are we going to shade, below or above? What's this? Below. Less than is below. Guys, don't be on your phones right now. Please pay attention. I'm almost done. This one is not in slope-intercept form, so you have to do a little work on this one. You have to get the y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. Oops. Get negative 3y is less than. Remember, you cannot subtract these. But I want to put the x first. We've already done problems like this. We build on everything you learn in here. That's why you can't afford to just be like, I don't get that. I'll pay attention next time she teaches. Oh, it's back again. And then we divide by negative 3. Now, guys, we haven't talked about this together this year, but once upon a time, long ago, in a different math class, you learned that when you divide an inequality by a negative number, something special happens. Do you guys remember? Yeah, your inequality symbol flips. It only happens when you divide by a negative. If that had been a positive 3, you wouldn't have done it. So that's going to be something easy we could forget if we're not careful. Okay, so that one's in slope-intercept form. That's a yucky, real math word, yucky. B, y-intercept, but it's fine. We're not making perfect graphs here. Slope is 5/3, right? The number that's in front of the x is our slope. The b, or y-intercept, is -2/3. That's just somewhere between 0 and -1. Don't overthink it. Don't stress about it. This one will be dotted, right? Because there's no solid line underneath it, so it's dotted. And be careful. We flipped it. Be careful not to look at the original, right? Because that's not what it is. It's this one, right? Because it's flipped now. So that's going to be above. All right. So now that we have them both in slope-intercept form, we know what we're doing. Let's see what it looks like. So I'll do this one in green so you can tell them apart. So always graph your B first. Your first point always goes on the y-axis. Always, always, always. So B is 3. Negative slope fall from left to right. So we either want to go up 1, left 2, or down 1, right 2. I'll do a little bit of both. Just double check. Your points should be lining up so that they're falling left to right. So up 1, left 2, down 1, right 2. This is going to be solid. If I were just graphing that one line, think about it, below would be here. Whenever you have a hard time knowing which one is above and below, just keep going. Like you'll start realizing you're going lower, lower, lower. Below is low. Above is above the graph, high. All right, the other one, I'll do this one in purple. B is -2/3. It's somewhere in here. Okay. Positive slope. I'm going to go up, right, up, right. Up 5, right 3. How do we go up 5 when we're somewhere in the middle? You just stay somewhere in the middle. So from here to here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So around here. Does not have to be perfect. Dotted. And we want to be above that line. So here comes the tricky part for some of us. Everybody look. Green is below. So I want below this graph, and the purple I want above. So below the green, above the purple. Below green, above purple. It just happens to be in that same area. It won't always be. All right, I'll do from the homework some with you too. So again, if this helps, below the green would be this area down here, right? It's these numbers. Above the purple, and you can see it crosses in this area right here. So the shading is probably the hardest part of this. So if you're seeing it, that's great. If not, call me to you once I'm done, and I will help you. Okay? So I'm going to pass out the worksheets, and then I'm going to do some with you. We're going to add one step for you tomorrow, and then you, and then I'm going to do number 3. Yeah. Yeah, so, sure. I'm going to do number 3 with you because these two happen to have the same area that you're shading in. Like, keep getting the same type of shading. It's really strange. I'm going to do number 3. Maura, do you want to take your quiz? Do you want to take your quiz now? Okay, so guys, if you don't have to pull out the M&B, I always do. It's nice to have all my information organized. Right? M&B. The one in purple, the top one, that would be solid, shade above, because it's greater than, right? The bottom would also be solid, and that one is shading below, because it's less than. What's dark? Is it? Okay, you can't, okay. I just couldn't tell from my what was going on there. Okay, so I'm going to do this first one in purple. So B is -3. First point goes on the y-axis. Does it go on the x-axis ever? No, just the y-axis. Negative slope, so I'm going to go down to right one, down to right one, maybe do some in the other direction so I have enough points to make a nice line. It's going to be solid. Okay. The bottom one, I'll do in red. B is +3. First point goes on the y-axis, not the x-axis, the y-axis. And that's a positive slope, so I'm going to go up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2. Maybe I'll go down 1, left 2. Just get some more points. And this one is also solid. Okay? So I want to be above purple, below the red. Above purple, below the red. Do you guys see in this area? Especially after I do it. Above the purple, yep, we're above the purple, and below the red, only where they have that in common. And that's the answer. Any point in there, in that shaded area, would be a solution. Not just one solution like with equations. Any point in the shaded area would be a solution to the system. Okay? So I'll put the first when he comes back. Note if it's hole punch for you, put it in your binder. You can work on it